Well, good evening. It's the 31st of August and we've got a bit of rain. Not much, but that black cloud just seems to be heading right across us, and I had actually thought of doing a Facebook live tonight across the fields, but I'm not. Looking across the giants now, we can see quite a bit more colour on. They're just all starting to open. The delay and the stopping dates has sort of worked to a degree, and that varieties that were coming out early last year are all coming out roughly at the same time, but you'll see they're a lot shorter still, which makes it a bit easier to see right across the plot. So we've got about 600, 700 plants through here. And then beyond is the covered area that we're using this year for the trial varieties of large and mediums and giants, and also with my fimbriates, it's in there. So why don't we go have a quick look up there, see what's going on. Problem is, you might struggle to hear me over the rain, but the giant trial plot here includes Aggie White, the new giant deck from Christy White over in Ireland, named after his mum, which is actually available in the catalogue for the first time this year. Long awaited, that one. And then we have a sport of John Hill from Tom Bebbington, Bebzada Hill. And a bit like its parent, it's very, very short and compact growing. Unlabelled at the moment is Steve Megos, Sport of Spartacus, which has a few nice buds on there now. This one has greened up an awful lot. It's Corson Gold, which was in the trials at Leeds last year. Plants were beautiful when they went in, and then they've just started to look very, very hungry, but they have greened up an awful lot over the last week. So I've just been a bit concerned about the habit, but we know the plants were all fine when they got planted. Purple Hillcrest Duncan Edwards coming away there now, and then this really strong grower from Graham and Ian Hill, Tom East. And Mary Margaret, medium deck. Phil Godsmark's Rycroft Gladiator, which is just starting to crack open the buds there now, with Rycroft Huntsman behind. Love the habit of that one. And then we've got again from Derek Cave, Corson George, some Cream Moonlight, and then be interested to see what happens here. But we've got a couple of plants of West Heddon Lillian planted with 8 of what we think is a sport of it, Cream West Heddon Lillian. So that's a trial one. But while we're up here, I'm going to have a look at our fimbriated, or my fimbriated ones that are coming for the show. So starting to get some colour on there now, which I'm quite relieved about. So Canora frills, working backwards, Normandy Wedding Day, with some buds about to start opening. The plants down the field that I've got my main stock of 20, they're looking much more even than this. And we've got Terry Bandy, and Canora Macop B. How we're looking for about 14 days. Hopefully going to be okay. The Le Feur de Soleil that I was worried about last week, still short, but they've moved on an awful lot and greened up and looking a lot happier now. And then we've got Normandy frills, which to get these looking like this, I had to have quite a severe chopping back at the beginning of August, and I'm quite relieved they've all evened up now, which is quite a relief, as I say. Then seedling from Tony Kingdon, Sherwell Allen. And a white medium semi-cactus that was sent by Terry Bratcher. which I can't remember the name of, unfortunately. White Hillcrest candy from a customer of ours in Selkirk, which was his own sport. And then White Hillcrest candy again, which I had a tuber sent. And then we've got Cream Diane from two sources. Be interesting to see how they compare. And then I've got a few plants of Roger Turrell, just to see how that does inside, which I've tried to thin back and control. And then Westerton Ella Grace, the new one from Gordon Hodgson, which are just starting to show a little bit of colour now. I mean, as for a miniature deck, it's got a very, very big bud, but at the same time I haven't double stopped it, so there's probably should have had a few more grown up on it, so we shall see how that does. Right, working through the medium trial varieties, or those that we're considering introducing. We've got stock of Clearview Tammy and Corson George. This time it's uncovered, but what a cracking colour that looks. That's a big bud there. Cream Moonlight, which everybody knows, that's about some Normandy frills planted outside. More White Hillcrest candy. And then we have a selection of the barberries coming on. We've got Cream Diane again outside again. 2 batches of stock, so it was just trying to see how they compare. Then Eye Candy from Tom Cleghorn, Hillcrest Jonathan, which we know is like about, it's one of Les's. Marmalade from Tom Cleghorn, Rycroft A1 from Phil Godsmark, which I think is now called Rycroft Misty, if I'm right, after watching Dave Spencer's video last night. Spenethorn Pam from Eric Booth. I'll have to have a check with Eric, because I thought that was supposed to be a pink miniature deck with that sort of orange there. And then Westerton Ella Grace outside. Then we have some of the Jasudi varieties just coming on there. So that one was passed with Jasudi Capella, and then we have Jasudi Borealis, which is this lovely soft pink. Jasudi Aurora, which has been shown extensively by Ian Sutherland on our behalf, so thanks for that, Ian. Our plants are standing just about 3 foot, just the first few flowers open, and it has been very dry here. Jasudi Andromeda. Just in the background there's a great big group of sycamore trees, and they're taking a lot of moisture out, and I haven't really been compensating enough for that. Jasudi Apollo, which we tried last year and decided it was a little bit thin, but we thought we'd better give it another go, so we'll see what it does. This is interesting, like the habit of this one. Clearview Audrey, which is a small semi-cactus, pinkish with white, so that'll be looking nice hopefully like next week. And then Lismore Goldcrest, which I gather this has been called, from Bill Franklin. And then this one is Woodfield George. Then again some more Jasudis, Jasudi Jupiter, Jasudi Mercury. Do like this one. Going to have a load of flowers out, very free flowering. We know all these Jasudis are a bit like that. Bit young there, but it was another couple of days. Jasudi Neptune, one of my personal favourites. Just look how bright that is. And this one we haven't had its first year with it is Jasudi Pluto, purple. There's 1 or 2 flowers at the minute just with a funny centre and I think, but again I'm putting that down to the dryness. Jasudi Polaris, which is a white when that comes out. Got to have it a little bit like Neptune on there. Jasudi Saturn, which we grew last year, which is a little bit like Western Miss. And then Jasudi Sunburst, which is this really vivid sort of purplish red tip, creamy yellow. And finally Jasudi Titan, which the first flower is actually unfortunately lost in the foliage there. It's a cracking colour. Hopefully when it's flushed up properly with these, it'll look much nicer. Then the last row of the trials, although sorry, no, there's another row yet. We've got Rycroft Blackberry. How's that for a spoke? I'll have to keep an eye on that one. With a Rogue Bonaventure in there, don't know quite how that happened. Then we have Westerton Reserve, again from Gordon Hodgson. Rycroft Marksman, Rycroft Bella, Rossendale Hero. All of these are just starting to flush now, and then a couple more Barberries. That's Barbary Patriot, and then Barbary Gala. And then this looks interesting. This is, can't remember till I get to the label, very strong habit, from America again, which is Max Lorry Jean. And then this couple of beds are filled up with one or two collarette seedlings. This one is one of Phil Orley's, as yet unnamed. A yellow collarette seedling of our own from last year, which the little collar sort of flushed a bit white, which is quite nice. Then the one I was raving about last year, which looks a bit wishy-washy this year. Mind you, that doesn't look too bad, but it's very, very uneven petals. And another of our seedlings, and then Trellin Joan, a star collarette from Roy Tudor. And then again a few more collarettes. This one is actually included in the catalogue. Edith Jones, that's not the best flower. I've got some much better ones on our pot tubers. One of our seedlings, or Alan's seedlings I really should say. That's quite bright and vivid and tall and free flowering. Then we have a dodgy plant that's going to get pulled out tomorrow of a white collarette seedling of ours. And then another one of Phil Orley's Catcoat Christopher. And as they say, what a difference a few days makes. We now have colour just about every corner of the field. The bedder's standing out really well. Tudor One and Preston Park. We have all these new varieties that keep coming out from Holland, and then you've got something like Preston Park. And this one I'm going up to now, which is Yellowhammer, which was introduced back in, I think it was 1957, and it's just lovely, really nice, like it. And then Spanish Conquest, a more recent one, just raised by an amateur, raised by Ken Stock. And then there we have the fields in general. where do you start going through these? We'll just pick a pathway and walk down, I suppose. New one from last year. This is one of the Jasudis again. This was Jasudi Hercules. That was one of last year's introductions. Good strong stems. And then Jasudi Telstar, which, as I keep saying, is slightly wispy sort of habit, but beautiful flowers on it, very well formed. And then Reliable Kilmori. Woodside Finale. Now, I find it quite hard to believe that about 12 days ago there was just a few buds starting to show some colour, and then all of a sudden we have all of this. And that's despite the fact we stopped everything on the 12th. We stopped most of the small and miniatures on the 12th of July this year, and spent quite a bit of time knocking back buds on the 4th and 5th of August to try and delay them a little bit. And at this point now I think we've got more colour out than we had at the same point last year. It's not, 31st of August. And people will be saying, well, mine have been out for weeks now. But we don't plant out till till middle of June. So I expect them to be late, and they were going to be late. That was my plan, and they've ended up flowering about probably a week ahead of where I was thinking a couple of weeks ago. This is Clearview Daniel, Western Buccaneer, proper ball Dahlia, Hamari Rose. I think you see Jamander at the far end, and then Westerton Folly, Hillcrest Royal, Hillcrest Candy just starting to come out. That'll be Scour Swinton in the distance there. Eastwood Moonlight that's just out in the open. That was stocked from Andrew Robinson. Thank you, Andrew. And then it looked terrible a few weeks ago, but has really sort of changed. Now that's Della Hay. Thank you, Mr. Sutherland, for the stock of that. Sherwell Linnet. This is much nicer this year than it was last year. I know it was nice last year, but it's just this bit of ground is so much better for it. This is another of Ken Stock's varieties, a variety called Cleo Lane. It's very short, could be a good bedder. The colour is really nice. Not actually showing so well on here as it is in real life. Then we have Craiggowan coming out. Good old reliable Megan Dean, which I like that one. Clearview Louise. I was admiring that bloom earlier. Then we've got some Mary's Jamander, about a foot shorter than last year's our Mary's Jamander, whereas the Megan Dean's about the same height. Blighting Softer Gleam in the background with Blighting Lady in red. And then that'll be Clayton's Candy. And then Andrew Mitchell. Only some varieties seem to have better years than others, and that's the best I have seen Andrew Mitchell for a lot of years. It's got height to it, it's got quality to it, it's got good stems to it, flowers are full of petal. or yes, we've got evidence of sort of like earwig and capsid damage around, because these have actually only been sprayed once since planting out. Tell a lie, it's been sprayed twice. Once with a fungicidal spray, which we use like Amastar. This is Canora Macop B. Which again, if me cover ones fail, I've always got these to fall back on. Canora Sunset always gives a lovely show. And then Canora Wow. And Kilburn Fiesta. And then we'll just throw in a few of the spray chrysanthemums, which are starting to flower now. Our chrysanthemums have been very variable this year, I have to be honest. We've got some plots where, some bits where they're all coming away really well, and others where the varieties are struggling, and we just cannot find rhyme or reason to it. All taken on the same day roughly, all planted on the same day roughly. Some Rycroft Huntsman outside. Forgot I had these down here. And then some Ruskin Diane. And then this is one of our seedlings, which Alan insisted would plant out and grow again. At the minute it's net 52016. Then we have our White Charlie 2 and Western JWH and Charlie 2 and Dakara Jody. So that's the mediums area done. So I've been through the smalls and mediums. So I've been through everywhere else, so I might as well finish this last little plot, which is where we have our stock of poms. And for the poms, because we don't really use much of the flowers for cut flower or anything, we generally only plant 10 plants of each out and then grow a lot as pot tubers to back up. And they're sort of like quite short because of being just the way we do them. And again, this little bit of land, it's actually quite shallow topsoil, so it can be a little bit tricky, although it did get heavily manured in the back end. Again, last week there was hardly any colour, and then this week we've got all this. So there we've got the water lilies coming through as well. Sasha with Taritahi Ruby and White Ballet and Vivian Russell Beyond. Palm Howden, they're just starting to come out. This one is Sandia Serenity, which is quite a small dainty water lily. Cannot really pick the colour out on that because just the lighting. And then beyond that is Kilburn Glow. Sam Hopkins, you can't get a darker Dahlia, I don't think. Well, Blackjack possibly, but they're not out yet because it's always late. Very free flowering Cairns Rarity, like the water lilies, is just starting to go to sleep for the night now. And Christopher Taylor, blooms on that are much bigger than I've seen before, so the added manure on this plot this year has really made a difference. Kilburn Glow, Olivia Marie, I'll say there's Pam Howden, Pearl of Heemstede, and it'll be Armona at the far end, with Gwyneth working backwards, the yellow of Glory Van Heemstede, and then Edwin Sunset there. And then beyond that we have the collarettes, which are just really starting to flower now. And then lastly is all the miscellaneous ones, the open scented varieties, the, as I say, double orchid of May and Pearl, the ones that the bees and butterflies really love. They got Bishop of Llandaff, good old reliable Bishop of Llandaff, but struggling on that corner. Honker Red, Twinings After 8, which are, I do like that. Another variety of Ken Stocks, me and Pearl. Very, very nice and dainty, good for the front of a border, this one, nice and compact. Our Hadrian's Midnight and Purple Puff there, just starting. And you got to say the collarettes, which are just maybe a little bit behind, but the plants are a lot thicker than they were this time last year. Midnight Star, should have cut one of those and sent it up to Scotland. Our Hadrian's Sunlight, Rycroft Gym, and you got Honker, Hadrian's Sunset and Trellin Seren. So there you have it. What I was thinking would just be a short look round our Dahlia fields to finish the evening off. I've ended up giving you sort of almost a full tour. One night I will try and warn you that I'll try and do a live one round here. It's just going to be fitting it in. So I'm off home now to get some tea. So thank you for watching. Remember, the website is now live for ordering at www.hallsofheddon.co.uk, where details of all the varieties will be available, and just went live yesterday morning and we've already had orders placed on it. So like I say, thank you for listening, and enjoy growing your dahlias for the rest of the season, and maybe see you at Wisley, or possibly at Harrogate for those of you that are showing. Good night.